Hey kids, Cousin Rich here from Castles, Capes, and Clones, and you are watching part 2 of the discussion that we had about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, stop this one, go watch part 1, then come back to this for part 2. Just like part 1, there will be chapters leading to different sections of the conversation. Especially this is the part where we'll have some of the Q&A things that we did for the couple of questions that we got. And hope you enjoy. See ya. We're an hour in, and now we're going to actually talk about Obi-Wan himself.
Finally. There's so many things, like we said, we could do a multiple episode on just this one
This is
show.
why there's no way we could have done this as part of the live show because there's so much to talk
It's
about.
its own thing.
But thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi himself? Was it everything you hoped he would be? Why is the answer yes?
Why is the answer yes? I always liked Obi-Wan as a character, even if we're just referring to the original trilogy, and then adding on to Ewan McGregor being cast. Which I need to say this again. This is saying the obvious. He's as far as casting is concerned, Ewan is perfect.
Yes.
It's just you couldn't have gotten anyone better.
That was the best decision made.
Yeah.
In the prequel era.
Yeah, and just it was I remember way back when Disney owns Star Wars now. Oh, Ewan's like I would just him being a terrible keeping secrets thing kind of guy. And I just want a pretty much a character study on what he goes through in those 20-ish years. Because he saw, especially after seeing what he went through in the prequels, just like we even get a hint of that too in A New Hope. Like, just when he's telling Luke about everything in his little home, it's like the way he's like, and he was a good friend. Like, there's a lot of weight there.
There's a longing.
He's just like, but he's also avoiding some crucial details.
Again, he's got to be careful because he literally has the New Hope sitting in his little hovel, and he's got to say something. Which is again a character flaw that both Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of have. Like they kind of manipulate Luke. Mm-hmm. And you can debate that for hours as well, but it's what I think a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, some people I've heard, like the hopes for Obi-Wan was that it wouldn't be Obi-Wan sulking. To which I'm like, why wouldn't he be sulking? Like this is the same kind of argument like Luke must be happy and whatever after certain events. I'm like, this is what Obi-Wan I wanted from Obi-Wan is like the last we saw Obi-Wan, he thought he killed Anakin, and the failure and the fall of the Jedi, it's like he knows his role in it, and what does he do? Like, how do you deal with that? There's no more support structure for him, we've learned, even though Yoda was like, I will teach you how to commune with like Qui-Gon, he hadn't been able to do it because his focus has been on despair, his fault, his guilt. And we see that, and that's what I think what I love about the show, about his journey, is that we see him as a broken man in those first couple of episodes. And it takes, he, like, even when Jedi are looking for him for help, because he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's just like, dude, just bury it in the sand and forget who you are and give up. And if you look at his roles, in the prequel trilogy, but also especially in Clone Wars animated show, no, he's not that guy. But it took, this happening to him to bring him down. And this is where the story of Anakin, the story of Reva, and his story, like those two, in despair and whatever, fall to the dark side. Obi-Wan does not, because he is still Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, the only time he came close to leaving Jedi was because he fell in love. So it's not even like hate would not bring him, guilt would not bring him down, but love almost did it for him.
Yeah.
Which, cool. But yeah, I like seeing him. It's kind of like we're watching a video game where Obi-Wan Kenobi needs to relearn how to be Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I like that he struggles in the beginning to use the Force, and that first confrontation with Vader, he is so on the defensive and so outmatched.
Yeah.
He has no confidence. He's no longer, one with the Force. And then, with the help of Leia and, Kamal Nanjiani and Ice Cube Jr., and Mandalorian's wife, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He becomes Obi-Wan Kenobi again.
Yeah.
In the most epic way possible.
I remember seeing certain people complaining,
of course,
about Obi-Wan, of course, but it's specifically just like, oh, he's just like Luke in Last Jedi. It's ruined. Why is he like just like this is a good thing. This,
like, would you like him better if he didn't feel any guilt for what happened in?
Yeah, wouldn't that be weird? He's felt just like he's still
like, oh, I created Vader, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. There's all my friends and family are all gone for the most part. Yeah, they're all murdered. The younglings, all of them. No, I'm still super ultra 100,000% confident, 100% optimistic.
Everybody,
still as powerful as I was 10 years ago. After that, like, that's not how humans work. I'm sorry. I know it's a harsh thing for some people to hear. It's the overcoming of that is what makes it powerful. Just like Luke in the Last Jedi, he was in the same position. He was, and again, they're different characters, obviously, but they ended up in the same general thing. A horrible thing happens to them. They just like, no, I'm not going to be a part of that anymore, because there's all the hope is gone. But then it's overcoming that makes it so much more powerful. It would have been boring would it have been entertaining he's just super powerful. He's just like, sure, but we get that in the last episode. He gets his power back, and there's like, a payoff.
Isn't that more satisfying that you see him broken, and then he comes back, and it's the thought of the future of Leia and Luke that bring him back to his purpose, and that there is hope. He's accepted he's not the future, but Luke and Leia are the future, and then he becomes Obi-Wan like we've never seen Obi-Wan, even in this Clone Wars. Like, it's the scene of him with the rocks. Which is, it's a funny thing because Luke was like, it's not just about making rocks float. And sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes X marks the spot.
It's okay. It's okay for our characters to be wrong sometimes. That's the point.
But like his performance when he sees Anakin under the mask. Yeah. This is why you have Ewan McGregor.
Yes. There was something, because something my girlfriend was saying about it. She said he is so expressive when it comes to his eyes. Mm-hmm. There's so much going on.
Yes.
Like he's so good in this, and I've seen him in other things. He's always
He's
been an
great.
amazing actor.
Yeah.
And just like I she even said, and I want to get your opinion on this. And I've seen some people like online saying this too. I'm torn on it, but just to hear your perspective, if they decided, most and even fans, we know fans are more than capable of doing something like this. I mean, one guy restored the original cuts of the original trilogy.
Right.
One guy.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, how would you feel if either, I doubt Disney would do it, but if someone said, "Hey, I put Ewan's Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original trilogy,"
I,
how would you feel?
I
I'm
mean,
torn.
I wouldn't. There's a like because Obi-Wan Kenobi to me time was Alec Guinness,
Mm-hmm.
and that performance and that version of him, I wouldn't want that to change. Like I wouldn't want
Yeah,
the Hayden in place of Sebastian Shaw treatment,
yeah,
right? Just because. Um, would I be interested to see it? What it looks
yeah,
like? Sure, but I
yeah.
wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the definitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't want to cut that into A New Hope and Empire and Return of the Jedi. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
want, because so much of that original trilogy is Alec Guinness in
Yeah.
that role, and Alec Guinness is also a great actor,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels much like them, and especially if you buy into um, the the other transitional episode of Rebels where we see Obi-Wan. It's no longer um, James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan. It's a new actor. I can't remember what
Yeah.
his name is, but it's the Alec Guinness
The Sea
version
Alchemist Obi-Wan.
of it,
Yeah.
right? And you know, to Ewan's credit, like he channeled Alec Guinness in his performance.
Yeah.
Like in interviews with them, he's like, he had to refine Obi-Wan,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very like, well, Ewan's Scottish, um, and it's a very specific tone, a very specific way of speaking that is Ewan's Obi-Wan, which is something that's supposed to eventually transition into Alec Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
And so his efforts to do that would also be diminished, I think, if they replaced him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that, like someone remade a more dynamic Vader versus Obi-Wan from A
Yeah, I
New
saw
Hope
that
fight.
too.
It's
Yeah.
cool looking, but man,
But it
would it be
doesn't
weird.
fit. It'd be weird
Weird.
just if they just put that in there.
Yes.
And
So I'm like,
that's another thing I liked about the duels between Vader and Obi-Wan. Well, just Vader in general. It still feels like Vader in the way he fights in the original trilogy. He's not twirling and jumping, and he's not doing all
yeah,
this fancy stuff. And I know there's stuff in canon now where there's different styles of saber fighting. That's why things are so over the top in the prequels, because it works. Like these are Jedi that are not only in their prime, but it's a different time and
yeah.
things change throughout time. Also, Vader is like he doesn't have any limbs anymore that are his.
It's a robot.
So
It's a
he's
robot
pretty
arm.
much like it's pretty much like Frankenstein doing this stuff.
He's more
Or
machine now than man.
yeah. So going back to you and his performance, and yeah, I just not just that, but also like the question I asked, like, um, if they superimposed you into the original trilogy, how would you feel about it? Yada yada. I and yeah, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I grew up with the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
But going back to mirror what I said about Hayden's in the flashback scene a younger version of Anakin, I'm like, they're still the same character when it comes to Obi-Wan. Both Ewan McGregor and Sir Alec Guinness, it's the same character. And like, this way he's going to age this much in 10 years. I'm like, yes, yes. Just use your imagination. It's the same person. And if you want to try to throw in some logic there, he's on a desert planet
where they have to farm moisture.
Where they have to literally farm moisture with two sons, not just one, two sons. And he's a Caucasian male who is probably pretty sensitive to the sun. If we're just talking, just like I get sunburned very easily, and I'm not even I'm Hispanic, and it's just, if you want to try to use that to justify the differences between the looks, fine,
cool.
But cool, but
or
it's the
Star
same
Wars.
character, or and just like it's a movie.
It's a world where light could come out of a little cylinder and stop.
Yes. Yeah. And can cut through literally anything. Except for a couple of little handful things.
Yeah.
But, and the Force, like just use your like I said earlier, everyone needs to calm down. It's Star Wars. Let's just
remember you're watching
fun.
Star Wars. Yeah.
You're watching a cheesy space opera.
But yeah, I think this is definitely a good transition to original trilogy. I think
very much so.
I think it bridges what we needed to bridge between the two.
Yeah.
Two parts of Star Wars.
I saw someone post like, this is my new trilogy, my new Star Wars trilogy, and they posted 3 pictures of like the posters. They posted Revenge of the Sith, then this, and then A New Hope. I'm like, okay, cool. This is our Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy now.
Yeah,
if you want to do that, because I think it's a perfect bridge. It adds so much to his character. Now, watching A New Hope and seeing that, Alec Guinness is Kenobi, and knowing what he's been through adds so much to it. It's making Star Wars better. Yeah. I feel.
I agree.
Yeah.
What, I don't want to go through them like all individually, but like just in general, the supporting cast. So Haja, Rogan, the Inquisitors, Tala, and even Owen and Beru. And I guess Luke.
Yeah.
Or then also Bale and oh my god, Brea, who's Organa, the stepmother. No, stepmother. Foster. Leia's mom.
Foster. Yeah, Leia's mom.
Like what? How do you feel about all like the cast? To supporting cast.
I loved the supporting cast. It was great to see. It's always great to see. I mean, yeah, I loved her character. I loved everyone. I thought everyone was great. Again, it's great to see returns from the prequels, especially like Jimmy Smith. I was like, oh, cool. We're getting more. We're getting more Bale. We're getting more. And my respect for Owen and Beru has increased drastically because of this series.
Can I just say, who could have called Beru would be the like warrior of the two?
I thought that was great.
Like, I'm hiding 2 shotguns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a little side about Bonnie. Like there is that whole thing about that cult that Allison Mack from Smallville was in. Bonnie was part of it, but she got out. Not only did she get out, she was one who helped bring it down.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. So like mad props to her.
That's
for,
cool.
Like,
I didn't know
that.
that.
Nothing's crazy. She was like, this is weird. And then got out, but then also like helped bring it down.
I didn't know that. That's
So
awesome.
all those arrests and stuff because of it is
Yeah.
because of her help. So I'm like,
Huh.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not expect her just to be the one, like Owen being like, we need to get to his help. Like she's like, no, we don't.
No, we can handle this.
Yeah. So
And you know what? And that made me think about A New Hope again. Like it makes tragically more
yeah,
sense of how they died. They clearly put up one heck of a fight, and those stormtroopers wanted them to suffer
yep.
because they could have just easily just gunned them down. That's it. We're done here. No, they tortured them.
Yeah, I like knowing that they fought.
Yeah,
They fought, right?
yeah,
Um, it just makes it a lot more tragic. And I think
yeah.
Owen and Beru don't get the props that they need because essentially, because of them, we get Luke,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Like because of these two people, Luke is who he is. It's not
yeah,
because of Ben. It's not because
yeah.
he's Anakin's son. It's because Owen and Beru raised him as a little boy.
Mhm.
Just like Leia is, sure, there's something to be kind of inherited, like, but like she is, the daughter of Bail and Brea Organa.
Yeah,
So those two pairings are really also what helped um Luke and Leia and the future of the galaxy at large. So shout out to those two. I like
yeah.
I like I liked
I
I
really like.
liked both. I wish there was a little bit more of Baru
Mhm.
in it. Um but like the scene with Joel Edgerton and Ewan, where Ewan's like, what, he must be trained. Owens claps back. They're like, oh, like you trained his father.
Yeah,
Which Baru's line to him is like, we're on our own. Kenobi's somewhere else, and Baru is like, oh, whose fault is that?
yeah. She calls him out on it. Like
I'm like,
we
you
could
go,
have help
Baru.
here. Yeah,
Could have had a Jedi help us with Jedi problems, but no.
like even in A New Hope, just but and I understand their point of view. Like we just don't want him to be any part of this.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he's
when Owen's like, he is my own. He is.
yeah.
He raised him from
They
a
raised
baby.
him.
He is their son. And of course, you don't want your son to get caught up, especially with knowing what happened. You don't want
Yeah,
your son caught up and all that. Um, it's like the whole trilogy would have been totally different if they survived.
yeah,
You know, who knows? He probably wouldn't have gone off. Probably wouldn't have gone to the academy. And then we get Star Wars Visionaries.
yeah.
What happens when Luke becomes a TIE fighter pilot? But
I,
yeah,
I'm thinking about the little conversation that Owen and Brewer have in A New Hope. Like after Luke leaves, he's upset. Just want to go to the academy. Is like, oh, another harvest. That little thing just adds so much more to it now. Where Owen's like, I'll make it up to him next year, and just she says to him like, Luke's not a farmer. He has too much of his father in him. He's like, that's what I'm afraid of. He just wants him to not be a part of this at all. But she reminds him, we 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 need to be careful.
yeah, totally.
Which again, as you said, it makes her death so much more tragic. But I love that they added that. Like they put up a fight. They're like,
Yeah,
no, we're gonna keep him safe as much as we can. Because like we know that the stormtroopers showed up to scare and intimidate them. Like, where is he? Like, just like we're like, no, we're not telling you anything. We're gonna fight you.
yeah,
Again, repeating myself here, broken record. This series just improved Star Wars so much for me.
yeah.
I
Um,
loved Tala. Her death was totally heartbreaking and hard to
it
watch.
was. Um, yeah, she was a surprise because like anything that any image of her like kind of leaked or whatever was her in the Imperial uniform.
Mhm.
Um, so it was nice that she played someone who was part of the rebellion essentially. Who and not only that was really about saving Jedi,
Yeah.
on the run, you know. Um, and this is like the supporting cast. I think is where some of my critiques come from, and it's only because I wish there was a little bit more
Yeah.
of it. Um, more Baru, a little bit more like with Tala. Like I almost like feel like I could have done with 7 episodes.
Yeah.
A little bit more of Tala and and
It couldn't have hurt.
Obi-Wan and Leia. You know, just a little bit more with them, and then more about like the whole Jedi underground, the path, like really dive into that. And the same thing with Roken. He's kind of set up as a leader.
Yeah.
Uh, so I just wish there was a little more of that. But I think for me, the Inquisitors were underutilized.
Yeah. Again, a nitpick thing. I I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like I saw it was a pretty popular meme of him in particular where it's like a picture of him standing there, and someone added a caption like Vader says it's my turn to use the Xbox. So it's kind of what he felt like.
Because
Uh,
in Rebels, when they were introduced, and then also though they were kind of introduced ish, like in Legends, but like
mhm.
in canon, first time we see them in Rebels, and then if you play Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, they are so formidable and
Really?
almost just as scary as
Huh.
Vader. Um, so it's since this is the introduction to most people,
Mhm.
I wish there was a little bit more developing just how um, good they were at their job and how menacing they could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all we got, and this is like I said, this is where I think there was lacking, was that all we got from them really was monologuing from the Grand Inquisitor and
Yeah.
whining from uh, Fast and Furious guy.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to be the Grand Inquisitor. I'm like, oh my god, this is like weirdest power struggle
Yeah.
without any actual power struggle.
Yeah.
Um, so I wish there was a little bit more to them
Mhm.
because they're so well utilized in other mediums that
Mhm.
as this is going to be the introduction for the masses, I wish there's just a little bit more, give them a little more credibility that these guys they're not Sith, they are Force users, but they exist to hunt Jedi. That is their thing. So I wish there was something where they actually, and they kind of did, but like, like really try and like have a confrontation between them and a Jedi, where the Jedi loses totally.
It's kind of like how they introduced Cad Bane in Boba Fett. Like you don't get the full scope of what his
Yes.
character is like. Like we don't get enough of him.
Yeah. Like
It's
people
kind
who
of
know
similar.
it from the cartoon, sure, but like
If you
your
just saw him for
grandma
the first time,
be like, I don't know who this
yeah,
person is. Is
yeah,
he
who's this
smart?
guy?
Oh,
Yeah, why is he? Should we be scared of him? I
yeah.
remember when he showed up. Like granted, I haven't finished Clone Wars completely, but I've seen enough of it to know he's a huge threat. Like I flipped out when he showed up. My girlfriend watching it with me, she was like, "Who's this guy?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who he is. I'm like, yeah, it would have been cool if we got with just like with the Inquisitors. Would have been cool if we got more, like you said, one more episode where they're more involved would have been great. But again, it's a nitpick. We still have more opportunities for that and other things, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
We'll get to that in a little bit, like what we think is
Yeah,
gonna happen. Um,
yeah,
Here's an aspect of this whole thing that I wanted to bring up, only
hmm
because I think it was highlighted here, and is that the lightsabers in the original trilogy versus lightsabers in the prequel era versus lightsabers in this new era of Star Wars. And I bring up because, like, you know, when you think of Star Wars, yeah, space and whatever, but like lightsabers are pretty much the symbol of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
laser swords. And you know, there's some people who think that they don't like the new lightsaber looks because it like lights everything, and it's not. It's because if you look at, you know, lightsabers from the original trilogy, especially, they look way different, obviously,
Yeah.
because they didn't have the technology back then.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at, you know, let's see if I can cue this up. Maybe.
At first, I wasn't sure what you were referring to, but now I get it.
Like, this is the first time we see a lightsaber in Star Wars,
Mhm.
right? And for whatever purposes, CPU reviews, I'm like, I'm gonna turn myself off.
And every other time, it takes someone else to do it. Again, it's Star Wars. Yeah.
See, like,
Yeah.
we know it's light, we know it's whatever, but it's they never were able to show it reflect on anything. So this is
Yeah.
what we were used to for the original trilogy, right?
Mhm.
And we all know, you know, it was rotoscoped in, which means they had to paint that in. You know, this is pre-digital, so you know that's that. But then if we go to the prequel era, if I can find this, where am I? What am I doing? What is this? Why is this weirdly ordered? Wait, where is it? New Hope.
It's like me whenever I used to do my streams.
Oh my lord, why is there? I just want to get to this. Oh, that's not it. You... Yeah. Jedi evil. Democracy, something.
I will do what I must.
Yeah. You're not with me. You're my enemy. See, even here, they don't light up anything.
Yeah.
Granted, the difference now is that they can do it all digitally, so it's a little bit easier. So it's not really rotoscoped in the traditional sense, but like,
Yeah.
there is no reflections. It's just light. But then we went to, and I think this is highlighted first in The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah. How it lights up everything.
Yeah, like it's like used to actually, like, lighting is important, and they use the lightsabers to actually highlight some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
See, it's reflecting.
Yeah, that.
All of a sudden, it's more realistic to what a lightsaber should do in the physical world.
See, so were people complaining? To my surprise, I didn't see anyone complaining about this. Were people complaining about this?
I think people just don't like the fact that it doesn't look like the old. And now we're talking about original trilogy and prequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these lightsabers didn't light up the background like they do, but they should. So basically, they made them more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's Force Awakens, which, you know, like you can see in the Force Awakens, that really was like the lighting was part of it.
Yeah, it's like because the props they were using lit up. They had the ability to do that.
Yeah,
and like if you see like the behind the scenes for all three trilogies,
and then in Obi-Wan, same thing. Like this scene is super effective because
it
and you can see there, like And the downside to it is that it's so bright, it does kind of
Yeah,
blind you. Like
yeah,
he's lighting the area, but at the same time he's looking at that saber in front of him. It's like that's all you see.
yeah. I'm fine with it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
say what I
like
said
that.
earlier. I think, I mean, it's beautiful. I think it's great that we have the ability to do that now. Would it have
Yeah.
been cool if it was like that in the original trilogy and the prequels?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. But it's just now we have the ability to do this now, and it gives the creators a new tool to use to tell the story. Like we are talking about Vader earlier, they use it's mostly red lighting him up from his saber when it's Vader, but it changes to blue from Obi-Wan just a little bit when Anakin's talking to him. Whatever is left of him giving some relief to Obi-Wan. Uh, I, I, it's Star Wars. We have the ability to do this now, and it's awesome. It looks
It
gorgeous. The
is.
shots are gorgeous. Yeah, I understand the practicality of like, okay, well, that's going to be blinding him. Yeah, my our toy sabers that we get at Disneyland
Yeah.
are pretty bright. Like
Like
if you and I
imagine
decided,
imagine this scene without the light from the
it wouldn't
lightsabers.
be the same.
Yeah.
It improves it.
Like look at that. Look at that. Look
It's
at it.
gorgeous. I'm like people again. It's just I feel like it's just people just finding things to complain about. I understand it's inconsistent, but guess what else? Guess what else is the fact that Vader has this helmet on. You probably could. I mean, I think even Hayden said like he's like I can't see anything when I'm in that helmet. Like, and he's doing all these things.
No.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just like yeah, just like if you and I decided let's have a lightsaber duel tonight when the sun goes down with our sabers, we would just be smacking each other in the hands because we can't see anything because of the light from the blades.
Yeah.
It's just it these things shouldn't matter. Like it's just there's so many different like levels to it where it's just because I think I do remember seeing some tweet or people like they don't understand how lightsabers work. I'm just like we just have this new piece of technology that makes it so the actors have they're pretty much playing with spar level uh toys that we have that light up
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
and then and the filmmakers decided we can use this as a storytelling tool of the conflict between Anakin and Vader. And again, could that have been used in the prequels and especially the original trilogy? Yes, if they had that ability to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if, while on set of the original trilogy, Lucas was like, "Oh, it'd be great if we could light the characters up with the sabers, and we could use that." A Kirshner being like, "We could use this. We could use Luke's lightsaber and Vader's lightsaber during that duel at the end. It'd be great if we could do it. Sorry, we can't do that. We don't have the ability to light these things up."
It would have been kind
We
of
know
cool.
they would. Yeah, it would have been. That would have added. I mean that. I mean, and we're just. You know how high I hold Empire Strikes Back, not just as Star Wars, but as filmmaking in general. We know if they had the ability to do that, they would have utilized it. It's just we can do that now, and we're using it. I don't see what the issue is.
I don't know. I feel like people just complain. I like it. And then
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
the dynamics of the fight. I like, like the original thing about lightsabers that George had was that they were super heavy.
yeah,
They kind of revisit it in the Mandalorian, or actually the Book of Boba Fett,
hmm,
the little Mandalorian episode, like in Book of Boba Fett, where it's hard. He's having a hard time wielding the dark saber because there's a
yeah,
weight to it and there's something.
yeah,
Whereas but in the prequel trilogy, like they seem like they're light as whatever because there's like
yeah,
twirly everywhere.
yeah,
Um, so I like I like the callback in the Mandalorian. I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan because I like that these are lasers,
Yeah.
right? It's light. Um, but I like about what we've seen from the sequel era and Obi-Wan especially is that it's not like the fighting technique has been more realistic than showy. There's more emotion to the fights than choreographed dance, and
Yeah.
I like that version of lightsaber fights better.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my only nitpicky issue with the prequels and those saber fights. Is for me personally, I didn't feel much emotion behind it. Were they cool and entertaining to watch? Yeah, absolutely. But versus it's more for me anyway. I feel like it's less about the fight itself and more about what the characters are going through with those fights. Like that's for me what was so refreshing about the fight at the end of the Force Awakens. It was a quick, short, brutal fight between these characters and what they're going through emotionally. Same thing, especially like even with like Luke, like in Return of the Jedi, like he didn't take it out that much, but when he took it out, he meant business.
Yeah,
Like the whole less is more thing.
yeah.
Like like
If that's the thing, then you will love the Obi-Wan Maul fight.
I've seen it,
Yeah,
and yes, I agree. It's not about the lightsaber. Yeah, lightsabers are really cool. I have two, and I want more. You have 4,000, and like I just, but as they're what they feel like to me is they are part of the story,
yeah,
and they utilize that wonderfully. Yeah, we see more of it, but they utilize that wonderfully in Kenobi, where it's what are the characters going through when they're dueling, and we get it. So and their ability to use the technology that we have now to light up the actors in the surrounding area to add more to that, just for me, just makes my point of view just that much more solid personally. Just like, yeah, it isn't so much about the fight itself, it's what are the characters going through during this fight. Yeah.
um, hey kids, so we're gonna interrupt a little bit. Obviously, we're going through the deep dive into Obi-Wan Kenobi, but um, like we said in the last episode, Loren couldn't join us, but we did manage to get his thoughts on Obi-Wan. So here you go.
All right. Well, I very much enjoyed Obi-Wan Kenobi. I didn't know what to expect from it. I was a little apprehensive, to tell you the truth. Although I'm very much a fan of Ewan McGregor, so I wanted to see where he was going with this. My love of the prequel series has not always been the biggest, and still prequel series are probably on the lower end of my favorite Star Wars films. I did love this series. I know that it had its problems, but I think that Ewan McGregor's performance was so strong, and they also Hayden Christensen, I think, totally redeemed himself as a much more terrifying Darth Vader, and I think that I was completely scared. I remember when I first saw A New Hope back in 1977 and seeing Darth Vader for the first time. It was very scary, but this was next level scary when he drags Obi-Wan Kenobi through the fire and does all of these things to him. It's just really a scary thing. He snaps that kid's neck. Um, so I really enjoyed that. some of the characters that I loved was, of course, Leia. I thought that the girl that they got to play Leia was so um, perfect for the role. I thought she was perfect. She was very much just a young Leia, and I was not knowing if they would show her or not, because Obi Wan, when we meet him in A New Hope, uh, he's on Tatooine and she's on Alderaan. But it would seem to me that within that kind of 20 years, he would have left the planet a few times. And so, in this, we see her learning to become the strong individual that I saw in A New Hope, standing up to Vader himself. And yeah, you just see the building blocks for her in this show. I really enjoyed the additions of Tala, who was the Imperial officer that was the spy. I thought that she was really cool, and I really enjoyed her, um, you know, as a character and a new character in the Star Wars mythos. But more so, I really enjoyed Riva, the third sister, that one of the Inquisitors. I thought that she was just so relentless, and then the twist at the end, where we find out that her motivation is to destroy Vader himself. I was very surprised by it, and I thought it really worked. And so I really enjoyed Riva as a character as well. Um, just overall, such a great show, and I would definitely like to watch it again, because I feel like there are parts that I missed. Oh, and it was also very exciting to see Owen and Baru. Just kind of as an addition. I'm glad that they didn't show a lot of Luke, because just because he doesn't, have that kind of relationship with Obi-Wan Kenobi when they first meet. He just thinks he's a crazy old man. Um, I'm trying to think of my favorite parts are probably the ones involving Darth Vader and Reva. I think that their characters, their kind of passion, uh, is just very strong, and I really really like that. So anyway, that is it. That's my thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Where do you think you might see some of these characters? Do you want to see these
I mean, I
characters
would really
again?
like to see Reva again, but where I would see her, I mean, it'd kind of be cool to see her older. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I would have loved to have seen Tala again, but that's not going to happen. And Leia, obviously we saw her later in her life, but now she's passed. So, but I would love to see more adventures of Leia and Luke, you know, outside of that where they're not as old, like somewhere between um Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. I'd really love to see them in that era.
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation, of course, after all these a series like this, about a season 2. We know
Yeah.
Ewan teased it during Celebration, but I think he was just playing to the crowd. But when they ask Kathleen Kennedy and Deborah Chow, they're pretty much the standard kind of thing they're going to say, right? Well, if we don't have any plans, but if there's a story that we have to tell, we can do it.
Yeah.
And it's a question we kind of talked about with Thom, but like, would you want to see a season 2? And is there a need for a season 2? I guess.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a season 2. I think that, but the only problem is that, like, you know, especially if there was a season 2 and he kept running into Luke and Leia, I think that that might be a bit hard. But if there were other adventures that he could go on, I would be for it. You know what I mean? Like, I obviously I would love to see Leia at all different points in her life, but I just feel like then we're kind of getting a little bit too dangerously into creating a giant story hole in A New Hope.
Right. Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. All
Alrighty.
right. Well, thank you for getting my thoughts.
Of course.
And I apologize that I wasn't able to join you guys. I was just not feeling well. I have a new schedule, and it's just like hard to adjust to it.
Yeah, it's understandable, but at least we got your thoughts, so
Yeah.
it's all complete. So
Excellent, Smithers.
already, we're going to cut back to the ongoing discussion with me and Thom. There's more to talk about, but for time purposes, let's jump to. So I did ask online for some questions. Granted, I did it very late because I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But we do have some questions from some of our viewers. So this is from Joe, my friend Joe. Did Obi-Wan deliver more or less or about what you expected it to deliver?
More for me.
Yeah, I think the same. I think it's more than I expected. I tend to these days try to curb my expectations because who knows, right? But I think the journey, I think we talked about it, like the journey that Obi-Wan goes through from beginning to end, I appreciate, and I think it's a good transition between both eras. So yes.
Absolutely.
Why did Reva seek out Luke in the final episode? There's weird, and this is again a technical thing, I think, where it's unclear if Reva knew that that's Anakin's son or just a random Jedi kid, force sensitive kid. It sometimes seems like she inferred that that's Anakin's, despite some of the things she says to Owen, like, "Oh, you'd like him like your own." So it's this weird thing where I'm not sure what she knows about him, but I think her intention is, I couldn't defeat Vader, so I'm going to hurt something. I'm going to hurt something, and the closest thing I have is there is and the backstory of what's going on during this time also is that the Emperor has been collecting Force-sensitive children. So this could be part of that. It's like I'm gonna destroy this thing that they're looking for. To get back, because obviously couldn't defeat Vader. So I think that's her.
I'm gonna go do this instead.
Yeah, and she's not thinking rationally. It's not like she's got this plan. She's like, my plan failed, so what am I gonna do? She gets this information about a force sensitive child. I'm gonna go there because she knows that's part of the Emperor's plan. And Vader is, of course, Emperor's right hand. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, it's like, what exactly? Don't really know, but the motivations of the character is still there. Granted, what she knows specifically, it's not really explained. Like, how did what does she know exactly? This, like, but the motivations are still relevant to me. and we could say that's either up to interpretation, or if it's something that was left on the cutting room floor, something technical, could have been anything. But but it was used to complete her arc, and I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah.
Star Wars has a lot of inconsistencies in general. It's to
It
me,
does.
it's no big deal.
And you gotta remember, like these are meant to be fairy tales,
Yeah.
so sometimes the details get lost in that. So, whatever. Were Leia, Reva, and Tala's characters as fearless, ruthless, and selfless as they needed to be? I mean, not all. I wouldn't call Leia ruthless.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like, was Leia fearless as a 10-year-old Leia? Yes.
Yes.
Was
It felt
Reva
fitting.
Yeah, was Reva ruthless as much as she could? Like, again, like we could, like in an early discussion, her
The conflict.
thing is that she is trying to be as evil as Vader to get close to him, so she proves that she's worthy of Grand Inquisitor.
Mhm.
So she's as fearless or ruthless as she is capable of. She's capable of a lot.
Yeah.
Until she's face to face with confronting why she's doing this. Not why, but why she became this and why she formed this plan, because her and her fellow younglings were mowed down by Anakin Skywalker. So I think that's where my thing about the Inquisitors is like, we didn't get a chance to see just how well they do their job.
Yeah.
And I think that would have solidified. Was she ruthless? Yes, all the Inquisitors should be ruthless.
Yeah.
And why does no one know how to kill their rival when presented with opportunity? I'm gonna guess from the Obi-Wan show, Reva leaving the Grand Inquisitor alive. Because I don't know. I mean, she stabs him. Sometimes that's enough to kill Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Again, it's like, are there inconsistencies in Star Wars?
Yes,
Absolutely. Sure. But it's fine.
As far as well, I think as far as Vader is concerned, and not killing Obi-Wan or not killing Reva, I think that was intentional. I think we talked about before. It's more about a mental defeat than a physical defeat. In those circumstances. So
yeah, I mean, we need to remember that at the end of Phantom Menace, Darth Maul gets cut in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he survives that. And you're like, how? What? Huh? Like, I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan tried to kill him, and he does survive it. From lore-wise, again, we're filling in the gaps. How do we flesh out this character who is kind of boring in that movie if we're comparing it to other villains up until that point? How do we bring him back? Oh, okay. Obviously, he's half android now. Okay, but how did he survive getting cut in half? Pretty sure in real life, if you get cut in half, that's it. To my knowledge. No, he channeled, from what I understand, he channeled the dark side to use pretty much pure hatred to keep himself, hatred and anger to keep himself alive. So yes, there's but then Qui-Gon dies from getting a little jabby jab.
Yeah. I mean, as the Grand Inquisitor said in the series, revenge is a motivation to keep alive, or whatever he says. And the dark side is very compelling to those people.
Yeah,
I think that's why
Qui-Gon wouldn't have used that,
because he's gonna have, if he's not revenge.
Yeah.
Does it suck that he died because of that? Sure.
Yeah.
But Star Wars again, like
it's Star Wars.
There's some weirdness in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So let's just be clear about that, right? So this one's from Jake Disney Afternoon. Why does this exist? Like, what did it reveal enhance that wasn't enhanced before? Um, this serves as a transition between the prequel era and the original trilogy, using a character that is in both. Um, what does it enhance? It enhances the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It gives you that bridge between where we left him in Revenge of the Sith to when we see him in A New Hope. Was it necessary? None of this is necessary. But if you're going to do a character study on one of the, main heroes from the original trilogy, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his big impact, and his impact in the prequel era, and throughout the Clone Wars cartoon, he is a major character. He's got more screen time than Luke does, really. So seeing where this person goes through, and this is the person who eventually convinces Luke to become a Jedi.
Yeah.
So,
and Luke didn't want to. He was like, I have chores to do back at home. I'm going to get in trouble. Like, yeah. Just like, I agree. It adds, again, like this can be applied to, I feel like almost anything Star Wars. Like, was the prequel trilogy really necessary? Not really. Was the show necessary? No, nothing is. Like, we could have gone our whole lives just A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi,
and Caravan of Courage.
Yeah, and Caravan of Courage. I remember one thing from those movies, from the Ewok movies. One thing out of everything. I remember the old man character going back into his hut and being someone made biscuits. That's all I remember. I remember that. I don't even know if that's
because it's the right thing to do and a tasty way to do it.
Yeah, that's all I remember. I don't remember anything else. But was it necessary? No, but did it?
It's fun.
They made sure, like, we just want to fill in this gap and add more depth to these characters, and that's what it enhanced.
This last one is from Matt, our friend Matt. Hi, Matt. And this is I know you won't be able to answer this because I don't know if you even know what these are. But do Yilsamiri, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I know what you're talking about, have a midichlorian count? Midichlorian minds want to know. So the Yilsamiri are from the Thrawn trilogy books by Timothy Zahn. And these are these like lizardy looking things that Thrawn uses to protect himself from essentially Luke. Because these are creatures that are able to repel the Force. How that works, I don't know. Do they have midichlorians? Maybe some mutant versions of them. Like there's like albinoism. Maybe they have Ilsamiri that are like, I have midichlorians. And I don't know. Maybe. If everything can have midichlorians, maybe they do. But maybe. That's my answer.
Having no knowledge on that, I'm gonna say sure. That's my lack of knowledge on that specific thing's answer. Sure. To add on to that, as far as more I guess legends stuff, which I know that falls in the category of that, to my knowledge. I will say that one day, maybe, if we were allowed to make a Star Wars movie, I'm doing it under not one condition, but the specific, like, what am I going to include in my Star Wars movie? Otherwise, if I'm not allowed to do that, I'm not doing it. I need to incorporate somehow Kyle Katarn into canon. Kyle Katarn, and no one, you have people like, who is that? I'm not going to say who it is. I'm just going to keep it weird and vague for people. Kyle Katarn needs to be in it. I need the Outrunner, and I need the Starspeeder 3000 in my movie. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Somehow. I don't know how. And not a cameo. Not like, oh, look, the Starspear 3000 shows up for 2 seconds over here in the corner. No, it needs to be incorporated. The same thing goes for the Outrunner and
I
Kyle Katarn.
yeah. I mean, the Outrunner was kind of already in canon.
Yeah, kind of.
Sort.
But
I do think though that it was a missed opportunity to have a Starspeeder 3000 in that episode where Din Djarin has to take the bus.
yeah, I would have used it that way.
They had the droid.
Yeah,
I
I
would have totally
lost.
put that in made Star Tours, or
Yeah,
at least the speeder.
yeah.
That would have been
You,
amazing.
you can probably imagine how happy I was to see that droid in live action.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. I like so the thing about Ilsamiri also is that there was an homage to them in Rebels. We didn't get to see one, but there's like piece of artwork that look like they had them in it. So it's a throwback to the Thrawn from the Legacy books.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was never a big fan of that power, and there is another set of books about these race called the Yuzong Vong that are also kind of force repellent. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means, and I wasn't a big fan. So I'm kind of glad that they don't exist yet in the canon. That's my thoughts. Hey kids, so last minute there's a couple more questions that came in and I figured I would answer. This one from Nick, who says, do you have thoughts about the Jedi and Sith being bad guys? Yes, I do. I think the Sith are, by their nature, bad guys. There's no really good aspects to them, at least in canon so far. And that's mostly because it's all about power and the rule. Like the whole thing is that like the apprentice will always try to take power from the master. And so there's no like really any tenets about the Sith where they're like for the good of the people. It's no, they will just want to control, even if they're like, the emperor is like a safe and secure empire. It's really more about power and control than anything else. The Jedi, while their intentions are good, they're not bad guys in the sense that they're out to do evil. They're bad in that their dogma gets in the way of being good people. This is a very apparent in the Clone Wars cartoon where Luminara Unduli, who is a Jedi master, is kind of, like collateral damage in the war was kind of like she kind of brushed it off, and that seems very cold because they're supposed to be these uncaring, unemotional, like monk like fighters, which is far from what they should be, which were the protectors of the peace, right? Somewhere along the line between the High Republic and the Republic that we know from that prequel era, they lost touch with who they were as people. They were more like like there's emotion, but they do not really. It's kind of like Vulcans from Star Trek. They have emotions, but they bury it deep inside to the point where it becomes a fault. So I think the Jedi, in their like stubbornness to be this kind of vision of their Jedi, allowed them to pass up opportunities of compassion, which led to their downfall. The treatment of Anakin, while in Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's like, I'm the one who killed Anakin, right? It's a culmination of all these things that happened. Dave Filoni talks about the duel of the fates from Phantom Menace, and the duel of fates is that Qui-Gon, if he survived that fight, the fate of Anakin becomes he has a father figure. Instead, he died, and a father figure who like you get the notion that Qui-Gon's a little bit of a rebel. He doesn't like he's a student of the living force, the here and now. Um, and he shows a lot more compassion. He's more. It seems to me he's more like a High Republic Jedi than a Republic Jedi. I don't know what the prequel Republic Jedi. Um, and if you get a chance, like read some of the High Republic books, you can get the gist of what I'm kind of saying about those Jedi. They're more like if you imagine the Knights of the Round Table than the monk like people from the prequels. You know, they don't attach themselves to anybody, but they are allowed to have relationships. And I think that's one of the key things that turned Anakin is that he wasn't allowed to express his feelings for Padme. And he wasn't really helped with it. You know, the correlation between Anakin and Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan also had a love interest when he was younger, except he was brought up in the Jedi Order as a from a young age, so he kind of bought into it at a very very early age, whereas Anakin did not. You know, the whole too old. Um, he came in with already living life as a kid. You know, having a love of his mother. You know, a lot of the Jedi of the Republic era were indoctrinated at a young age, so they don't really understand the power of connection on that level to people. Even though Obi-Wan does, but he's bought into what the Jedi are. So he pretty much lets go of his feelings in that he doesn't act on them, whereas Anakin did. And he had to keep that secret and was treated like that in and of itself was evil according to the Jedi. And then like evil, but like, it's against the rules. So I think that this contributed to their downfall by raising up someone who they could have, let him be married to Padme, instead of having to hide. There's a lot of distrust in the Jedi, like especially with Mace Windu of him. So to get back to the bad guy thing, it's like Jedi aren't inherently bad. They just made poor decisions as a collective that led to not just the downfall of the Jedi Order, but the suffering of the people in the galaxy. And who knows? Hopefully, we'll get a little bit exploration of what the post-sequel era Jedi will be, with Rey leading that charge, if we do get that. But awesome question. Pretty long answer. Thanks. Back to us. I did want to point out two things that I found amazingly awesome. Is that so when we see Leia back in Alderaan and she's putting on the gloves and that holster and her boots, it does mirror this comic. So that is Princess Leia. I think this is definitely pre A New Hope. So it's kind of her look. So they adapted it.
That is cool.
And then also Obi-Wan's look is also adapted.
I did see that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
Which when I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, they did it. They did the thing where they tied in the comics to live action. And I'm so happy that they're pulling a lot of things from video games, the cartoons, books, and comic books. Yeah, and it truly means it's like
it's more official, and that could spark interest of someone discovering Star Wars in a medium they wouldn't have otherwise thought of. Like I know there's like the rumors of them bringing in a live version of Cal Kestis from I know his character, but I haven't played the game. Like just like, oh, this character is from the game and we're bringing him in this way. Like, oh, maybe I'll try playing a video game to get some more Star Wars.
It's a good video game.
I have it. I need to play it. Yeah.
recommend it. If you're a video gamer, like you want a good Star Wars story, it's a good Star Wars story.
Yeah.
I also want to point out this. I think it's still available. So if you are someone who collects Leia stuff,
Mhm.
this is that outfit in figure form.
That's really cool.
So now you can be like, that's Tala's.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So what are your favorite parts? What's your favorite part, to keep this short, of the series?
If I had to pick like one particular scene,
Scene,
that
line,
scene
moment.
that moment, it's a tie. It's pretty much both of the Vader and Obi-Wan duels. Not so much, oh yeah, cool lightsaber stuff. It's just what's going on. It kind of mirroring what I said earlier, especially the last one. It just adds so much to those two characters and what they're going through. A close second would be pretty much every interaction that between Obi-Wan and Leia.
I think on an emotional level, it's the scene where we see Vader's mask cracked. Especially because in Rebels the same thing happens.
Yeah.
But they chose to do different sides. So Obi-Wan sees the left side of Anakin. Ahsoka sees the right side. The one person who gets to see him in total is Luke. He's the one who's able to completely break through to Vader. And I thought that was great. Amongst other things, there's a lot of stuff I like.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
That's the one that I think sticks with me.
Yeah.
So the closes out, like, so there's obviously with something like this, Hayden and Ewan were asked if there's going to be a second season. Kathleen Kennedy has said, if there's a story, Hayden is like, I would love to keep playing Vader. Ewan, at Celebration was up on stage and be like, I hope you enjoy episodes, because they showed the 2, 4, 5, 6, and they kept going 7, 8, 9, because of the crowd.
Yeah.
So I think they would do it if there was something to tell. That being said, do you want a second season of Obi-Wan?
It would be great, again, if there's a nice story to tell that would feel fitting. But I am also very satisfied with what we got. So if we didn't, I'm super happy with what we got. But again, we're like, hey, we want to tell this thing. I do feel like, I know we've talked about this kind of previously, I don't think we need more Obi-Wan and Vader.
No.
I think
that's that part of their story is done.
Yeah.
Well, until A New Hope, obviously.
Yeah. But if there's a new adventure like on Tatooine, maybe him getting to know Luke a bit more, young Luke, and they go through something else that's unrelated to the Empire, and if it's done right, yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
but if not,
realistically, cool. I don't think there's going to be one. I don't think there's a story that needs to be told. Would I like to see something? Sure. And I know we've talked about this offline, but like, I would like to see how Luke and Obi-Wan know each other more than the one scene. Like, because to me, like, some people are like, doesn't seem like it is, but to me, it always seemed like Luke knew Ben, as the crazy whatever. But I feel like it's one of those. Everyone knows he's a crazy old wizard hermit. I feel like Luke befriended him because he's a weirdo.
And just like the way he talks about him in A New Hope, just like, oh, it's guy, old Ben Kenobi. It's kind of a strange old hermit.
Yeah, like he knows him. There's something there. Like, it doesn't even need to be besties, but I feel like there's something there. And I think if they did like another Obi-Wan, I would like the opposite of this series, which was so emotional and dark and like whatever. a fun little romp with like a teenage Luke.
Yeah.
Just so that it gives Ewan an opportunity to have scenes with both Anakin and Luke. And like he's had it with Leia. He had a little bit with Luke, but like an actual kind of gets to act with Luke, a version of Luke before we see them in A New Hope. But then when we see A New Hope, we'll be like, oh, they know each other. Nice.
Yeah.
You know, Obi-Wan invents a time machine. They go back. Luke is like, this is heavy.
Yeah, this is heavy. What does this always mean, heavy? Is there something wrong with Earth's gravitational pull? Huh?
And Ewan's just like, Obi-Wan's just like, great Scott.
Yeah.
But,
it'd be fun, but I'd be happy if this is all we got.
I think riding off in the canyons with Force Ghost Qui-Gon, which we didn't even hit upon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we didn't.
But I mean, granted, it's not that much, but it was awesome seeing him again.
Like if we didn't get that scene, I would have revolted. That's one thing I think I would have been like, how do you sit there in the first episode and be like, Qui-Gon, where are you, Qui-Gon? And then again later, and it was like, oh, he never showed up.
Like, why do we set that up?
Why are we even here?
So,
Star Wars is ruined.
It was ruined forever. Never watch Star Wars ever again. It was just as an initial thing. I know pretty much everyone that watched this was super happy with one particular moment, and that's the hello there at the very end.
Which people were like,
great.
The first scene where Leia's like, say hello. It's like, hello.
And
if
people were like,
there, it would have been like, here's when he should have done it. Like, no, because he wasn't him yet.
Yeah.
I don't think they saved it for a good thing. Just like people were like, oh my god, is Vader gonna say like, Obi-Wan, I have the high ground? Like, would have been funny, sure, but it wouldn't have been Vader. It would have been back to that whole like, I hope you don't choke on your aspirations. So I'm glad they did it.
We got the equivalent of the Obi-Wan, I have the high ground, but properly. And he didn't have to say anything. That was him dragging Obi-Wan through those coals. Yeah. We got that.
So, there we go. But I will say, I think that there are more stories to tell with the other characters.
Absolutely.
And some of the things they brought up, like, you don't just bring up Quinlan Vos as a name. And Quinlan Vos is a Jedi. A pretty, I don't say prominent, but like he's a well-named character from the Clone Wars era. Yeah. And the whole the path and all those kind of things. Like I can see, after Andor, that there is something where we see like Andor can deal with the rebellion and all that kind of stuff. Where I think Roken, so Ice Cube's kid, O'Shea Jackson Jr. As Roken, because he's like, I'm just getting started. Getting started doing what? Like maybe he is one who seeing more of him helping Jedi. Yeah. So the Andor's rebellion and that aspect of it, politics and whatever, and then when we see Roken Haja, Kumail Nanjiani's character, go and help Jedi at that point.
Yeah.
I would like to point out this could be just a nod to Legends, but the kid that Leia is, the first one we see him, Haja's scene where he's helping the mother and the little kid go off to safety.
Yeah.
Because he's like, because the kid's force sensitive. And it's also the same kid that Leia is comforting on the ship with Lola. Mm-hmm. His name is Corran. And there is a Corran Horn who is one of the famous Jedi from the Legends books. One of Luke's first students in Legends. Yeah. Around the same age, like because Luke is Luke, he's finding force sensitive people, not necessarily kids, and Corran Horn is one of them, and he's probably one of the main Jedi's from that era of the Legends books. So, it could be a nod, but
Why not?
Why not?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. So, so I would like to see that, and then like there we maybe can see the Inquisitors a little bit more and their abilities and how like the Grand Inquisitor, the guy who plays him. I feel like there's more that he can do with that character.
Yeah, I will say real quick, what I love. Someone pointed this out. So in that scene in the last episode where they're chasing them in the Star Destroyer, and how the Grand Inquisitor is like, we need to stop the insurgents, Lord Vader, and Vader's just like, no, Obi-Wan just isn't any Jedi. We're going after him instead. And if you look at he's out of focus, the Grand Inquisitor, he has this look at him. He's just like you can tell he's like, I'm so done with this guy. Like, if you can rewatch that scene and just look at the Grand Inquisitor's reaction after Vader decides, no, we're going after Obi-Wan instead, he just looks like, oh, okay.
It's like, done with
yeah. Yeah. I loved it, which makes perfect sense. He's like, I guess I'm not doing my job today, Lord Vader. Thanks for that.
Yeah. That's why I want to see more of them. I want to see them throw some sass at Vader, and he'd be like, "Let me show you what sass is," and then just like beats the crap out of them. Because in Rebels, like the Grand Inquisitor is like, there are a lot more things to fear, and he's referring to Vader.
Yeah,
I want to get into when he says that, but his character is a good character, a good foil in Rebels, and so it's like you don't get an actor like that to portray him and not use him. Which, granted, Ming-Na Wen was only really supposed to be in that one episode, but they brought her back.
Yeah,
come on, it's Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping that we are not done with these characters. Oh, and Reva. Like, I think Reva can be part of that too. Like, atoning for what she did. Helping.
We have a lot of things we can work with here.
Yes,
they can expand things wonderfully if done right.
Indubitably. But all right, I think 2 hours.
2 hours 20 minutes.
I didn't talk about Lola. I didn't talk. There's a lot of stuff. But,
it's a lot of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, hit me up in I asked for questions like really last minute, but like if you have any questions, if you want to know my thoughts or our thoughts about something, hit us up in the comments. Maybe Loren will be able to give like some of his thoughts next time. Otherwise,
thoughts,
we will. I'll do a little spiel. Subscribe to the channel, like this video. But I honestly let's keep the conversation going. I think that's kind of cool. Like, I want to know people's thoughts. If you had any questions, if you had any kind of weird things that I didn't consider, let us know. Let's open up a dialogue. And I think we'll be doing these for moving forward instead of doing like the episode recaps like we used to do, because there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out. We'll probably do a Castle Capes and Clone discussion for Ms. Marvel, and then after that's done, and then Andor when season 1 is done, She-Hulk, all this kind of thing. So come back, hit the bell for notifications, and Loren will see you later. I'll catch you on the flip side.
Ta.